Hello everyone, myself Dr. Manas Kumar Das, Director, Orlean College of Pharmacy. Today we will study the pathophysiology, the code is BP 204T in the branch pharmacy. Today's lecture is lecture number 3 in this pathophysiology subject, and the topic is morphology of reversible cell injury. In the last PPTs, we have studied about the cell injury, we have studied about the homeostasis process, we have studied about the different definitions need to study the pathophysiology. So, today we will start with the morphology of reversible cell injury. We know the meaning of reversible. Reversible means which can be reversed, which can be revert back as a normal or as a earlier stage of the cell. So, that is reversible. So, the contents of the today's lecture is definition, morphology of cell injury, morphology of reversible cell injury, hydropic changes, hyaline changes, extracellular hyaline, fatty changes, fatty liver, pathogenesis of fatty liver. So, these are the contents which we will describe, which we will discuss in the today's lecture. So, start with the definition. So, cell damage, also known as cell injury, is a variety of changes of stress that a cell suffers due to external as well as internal environmental changes. So, what is cell injury? This is a cell damage. You can also say it as a cell damage is a variety of changes of stress that a cell suffers due to external as well as internal environmental changes. Amongst other causes, this can be due to physical, chemical, infectious, biological, nutritional or immunological factors. So, now come to the morphology of cell injury. So, in the molecular and biochemical mechanisms of various forms of cell injury, we now turn to light microscopic morphologic changes of reversible and irreversible cell injury. See, we in the cell injury we can see some changes from outside in naked eye, or under microscope we can see some microscopic changes or some morphological changes. So, that we will discuss in this PPT. So, that is a slight difference in the reversible and irreversible cell injury. In the reversible, that is hydropic changes, hyaline changes, mucoid changes and fatty changes. So, these are the changes of reversible cell injury, and in the irreversible cell injury, that is autolysis, necrosis, apoptosis and gangrene. So, these are the major things which happens in the reversible and irreversible cell injury. In the reversible, it is hydropic changes, hyaline changes, mucoid changes and fatty changes. In irreversible cell injury, it is autolysis, necrosis, apoptosis and gangrene. Now, come to the morphology of reversible cell injury. The term degeneration has been used to denote morphology of reversible cell injury. So, degeneration is the term which we use to describe, to study the morphology of reversible cell injury. Following morphologic factors following morphologic forms of reversible cell injury are included under these headings, that we already seen this: hydropic changes, fatty changes, hyaline changes and mucoid changes. So, these are the different 4 changes which majorly we have to study in the morphology of reversible cell injury. So, first start with the first one, more hydropic change. Hydropic change, it means accumulation of water within the cytoplasm of the cell. The name is already, it is denoting hydropic, means hydro means water. So, water accumulation where inside the cytoplasm of the cell. So, what is the etiology? The common causes include acute and subacute cell injury from various etiologic agents such as bacterial toxins, chemicals, poisons, burns, high fever, saline etc. So, these are the different causes etiology for a hydropic changes. Which are the causes? We can repeat once: acute and subacute cell injury from various etiologic agents such as bacterial toxins, chemicals, poisons, burns, high fever, saline etc. What is the pathogenesis? How the cell injury, the reversible cell injury, how this proceed? What are the different steps? Cloudy swelling results from impaired regulation of sodium and potassium at the level of cell membrane. So, swelling, cloudy swelling occurs in the levels of cell membrane. This results in intracellular accumulation of sodium and escape of potassium. So, sodium will be accumulated inside and potassium will be escape from the cell. This in turn leads to rapid flow of water into the cell, because water also flow along with the sodium. So, when the sodium comes inside, water will also comes and accumulate inside the cell, and to maintain the isoosmotic conditions, and hence cellular swelling occurs. So, cellular swelling will occur. It is because of the excess accumulation of sodium and along with water and the depletion or the escape of potassium. So, hydropic swelling is an entirely reversible change upon removal of the injurious agent. So, now it is, I think, clear what is hydropic swelling. So, this is the photograph of hydropic changes. See here this white colors, these are the this is the structure of a renal tubule, dissection of a renal tubule. So, tubular epithelial cells with hydropic changes. You can see the white things, these are the hydropic, this is the water accumulation happening. More normal appearing tubule epithelial cells, here that is more normal, here there is hydropic changes happened in the renal tubules. Okay. Now, come to the second one, hyaline change. So, hyaline is a descriptive histologic term of glassy, homogeneous, eosinophilic appearance of material in hematoxylin and eosin stained section. Means, if we cut a section of a tissue and if we stain it by hematoxylin and eosin, we can see some glassy, homogeneous, eosinophilic appearance of material. This is called the hyaline. It may be intracellular or extracellular. It may be intracellular or extracellular. It means hyaline can be deposited intracellularly or it can be deposited extracellularly. So, intracellular hyaline. So, start with the intracellular hyaline. It is mainly seen in epithelial cells. So, epithelial cells you can see the intracellular hyaline. So, there are some examples I have given here. So, first one is hyaline droplets in the proximal tubular epithelial cells in case of excessive reabsorption of plasma protein. Proximal tubular epithelial cells, you know, proximal convoluted tubule of the nephron. So, there hyaline droplets are deposited when there is a excessive reabsorption of plasma protein. Second example, hyaline degeneration of rectus abdominalis muscle called Zenker's degeneration occurring in typhoid fever. This is the second example where we can see the hyaline changes. Third one, Mallory's hyaline represents aggregates of intermediate filaments in the hepatocytes in alcoholic liver cell injury. You know, the excess alcoholism cause liver cell injury, and in turn it cause the liver necrosis. So, in that case, that is a called Mallory's hyaline, which represents aggregates of intermediate filaments in the hepatocytes. Hepatocytes means liver cells, where in which condition? In the alcoholic liver cell injury. Fourth one, nuclear hyaline inclusions seen in some viral infections. So, in the nucleus there may be some hyaline inclusions you can see in different viral infections. Fifth one, Russell's bodies representing excessive immunoglobulins in the rough endoplasmic reticulum of the plasma cells. So, we are having two types of endoplasmic reticulum, rough endoplasmic reticulum and smooth endoplasmic reticulum. So, RER, rough endoplasmic reticulum, here Russell bodies representing excessive immunoglobulins in the rough endoplasmic reticulum of the plasma cells. So, we studied about the intracellular hyaline. Now, it is the extracellular hyaline. It is seen in connective tissues. We know about the different kind of tissues like muscle tissue, connective tissue. So, a few example of extracellular hyaline changes are as under. What are the different examples? Like hyaline degeneration in leiomyomas of the uterus. Leiomyomas is actually a medical terminology of the fibers of the uterus. The hyalinized, second one is hyalinized old scar of fibrocollagenous tissue. Scar tissue happens in the fibrocollagenous tissue, there hyaline can be seen. Third one is hyaline arteriosclerosis in renal vessels in hypertension and diabetes mellitus. So, when there is a arteriosclerosis in the renal vessels, the hyaline can be seen. Hyalinized glomeruli in chronic glomerulonephritis. What is glomerulonephritis? When there is a inflammation, anything end with tis means inflammation. So, nephritis means in the nephron inflammation, which part of the nephron? Glomerulus part. So, in the glomerulus part of the nephron, when there is a inflammation, that is glomerulonephritis. So, hyalinized glomeruli can be seen in chronic glomeruli nephritis. Corpora amylaceae are rounded masses of concentric hyaline laminae seen in the prostate in the elderly, in the brain and in the spinal cord in old age and in old infarct of the lungs. So, corpora amylaceae means this is a deposition of like sugar amylase carbohydrate deposition that can be seen in the old age patients in the brain, in the prostate. This is called corpora amylaceae. This is also a type of extracellular hyaline. This is a diagram of the hyaline storage, the glossy ones you can see, the glossy ones, these are the hyalines present here. Now, come to the mucoid changes. Mucoid related to mucus. So, mucus secreted by mucus glands is a combination of protein complexed with mucopolysaccharide mucin, a glycoprotein. So, mucin is a glycoprotein. So, this is a combination of protein complexed with mucopolysaccharides mucin, which is a glycoprotein. Mucin is normally produced by epithelial cells of mucous membrane and mucus glands. So, mucin, it is normally produced by epithelial cells of mucous membrane and mucus glands, as well as by some connective tissues like in the umbilical cord. So, both type of mucins are stained by Alcian blue. So, we can stain this mucin to observe, to identify under the microscope after staining with the Alcian blue. Epithelial mucin stains positively with periodic acid ships, this is called PAS, while connective tissue mucin is PAS negative. PAS means periodic acid skip. So, PAS negative, connective tissue is PAS negative, but जो epithelial mucin is PAS positive, but it is stained positively with colloidal iron. This is the photograph of mucinous material. Okay. So, mucinous material we can see here. Now, come to the epithelial mucin and connective tissue mucin, as we studied about the, as we heard the two terms epithelial mucin and connective mucin. Epithelial tissue mucin, it is following are some examples of functional excess of epithelial mucin. Like examples are like catarrhal inflammation of mucous membrane, like of respiratory tract, alimentary tract, uterus. Number 2, obstruction of duct leading to mucocele in the oral cavity and gallbladder. Number 3, cystic fibrosis of the pancreas. Number 4, mucin secreting tumors. So, these are the 4 examples where epithelial mucins can be seen: catarrhal inflammation, obstruction of duct, cystic fibrosis, mucin secreting tumor. Second one, connective tissue mucin. A few examples of disturbance of connective tissue mucins are as under. Which are the examples? Number 1, mucoid degeneration in some tumors, that is myxomas, neurofibromas, fibroademas, soft tissue sarcomas, etc. Second one, dissecting aneurysm of the aorta due to Adams medial degeneration and Marfan's syndrome. Third one, myxomatous changes in the dermis in myxedema patients. Fourth one, myxoid change in the synovium in ganglion on the wrist. So, these are the different examples of epithelial mucin as well as some connective tissue mucin. Next to the fatty changes, it is the intracellular accumulation of neutral fat within parenchymal cells. It includes the older, now abandoned term of fatty degeneration and fatty infiltration, because fatty change neither necessarily involves degeneration nor infiltration. It is specially common in the liver, but may occur in other non-fatty tissues like the heart, skeletal muscle, kidneys and other organs. So, this is a very important one. Last one, it is specially common in the liver, but it may also occur in other organs like heart, skeletal muscle, kidneys and other organs. So, these are the fatty changes where the accumulation of neutral fat within parenchymal cells occurs. Fatty liver, what is fatty liver? Liver is the commonest site of accumulation of fat because it plays central role in fat metabolism. So, a small etiology of this: fatty changes in the liver may result from one of the two types of causes: condition with excess fat exceeding the capacity of the liver to metabolize it. What are the reasons behind the condition with excess fat? Obesity, diabetes mellitus, congenital hyperlipidemia. Congenital means from the birth. Second one is liver cell damage. When fat cannot be metabolized in it, what are the conditions? Alcoholic liver disease, in starvation, protein calorie malnutrition, chronic illness like tuberculosis, acute fatty liver in late pregnancy means in the last trimester of the pregnancy, hypoxia, that is anemia, cardiac failure, hepatotoxins like carbon tetrachloride which actually kills the hepatocytes, the liver cells, drug induced liver cell injury like methotrexate, steroid, CCl4, carbon tetrachloride. These are the different drugs which can cause the liver cell injury. Next, the pathogenesis of fatty liver. So, healthy liver this one and fatty liver this one. There are the changes. What are the changes? Pathogenesis: mechanism of fatty liver depends upon the stage at which the etiologic agents acts in the normal fat transport and metabolism. Hence, pathogenesis of fatty liver is best understood in the light and normal fat metabolism in the liver. Lipids as free acids enter the liver cell from either of the following two sources: from the diet as chylomicrons or from adipose tissue as free fatty acids. These are the two sources of fats enters inside the liver. In fatty liver, intracellular accumulation of triglycerides. This can occur due to defect at one or more of the following 6 steps, which is described in the below in the normal fat metabolism shown in. First one, increased entry of free fatty acids into the liver. Second one, increased synthesis of fatty acids by the liver. Third one, decreased conversion of fatty acids into ketone bodies, resulting in increased esterification of fatty acids to triglycerides. Fourth one, increased alpha glycerophosphate causing increased esterification of fatty acids to triglycerides. Fifth one is decreased synthesis of lipid acceptor proteins. These are the proteins which accept the lipids. These are called lipid acceptor proteins, resulting in decreased formation of lipoprotein from triglycerides. And sixth one is block in the excretion of lipoprotein from the liver into the plasma. So, these are the 6 steps of in the normal fat metabolism shown here. This is the liver hepatocellular necrosis, it is shown here. This is the karyohexis, karyolysis and pycnosis. Okay. This is the normal nucleus, you can see, and these are the necrosed nucleus with pycnosis, karyohexis and karyolysis. There are total the dissolution of the nucleus. You can see this is dissolution. Here you can see this is the fragmentation of the nucleus. Thank you.